We are live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Proverbial Masterminds.
Here we are. I said I wasn't going to sing this week. And see, I didn't.
And you didn't. And it's, happy Friday, September the 3rd. Welcome to September.
What the heck? Labor Day weekend.
The last part of quarter three.
Yes. And I just want to say two things. One, so we had the big storm come through. I know nothing like our, sisters and brothers in Louisiana and whatever. And obviously we're praying for them. And even all the way up the East Coast. I live outside of DC. I live on the Chesapeake Bay. So it was like nasty wind and rain. But then the humidity broke yesterday and it was so gorgeous and actually a little bit cold. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because, listen, I know that it's Labor Day and that's like the unofficial end of summer, but you all like pumpkin spice people, just hold up because it is still summer. I just needed to say that.
I'm not a big gung-ho. I like my pumpkin stuff. I'll make some pumpkin muffins, I'll do something like that, but
it ain't fall yet.
Well, want to know what temperature it was at my house this morning?
What?
50.
I was going to say 53.
50.
Yeah.
Like I'm in long sleeves for the first time. I have a fleece draped over my legs.
Yeah.
And my toes are in flip-flops because I refuse to admit it, but my toes are freezing.
I had slippers on yesterday. Thank you. So
I saw that on,
yes.
I scrolled by that and I said, all I saw was, yes, I'm wearing slippers.
You're like, I get it. Cause I have a fleece blanket on.
I get it. Yeah. And actually, so I hope, apologies to you and to the viewers. If you can hear, I have a neighbor who decided that now was the best time to mow the strip of grass across from my office, which is across the street.
Can't hear anything at all.
All right, good.
Just you.
If I was recording a podcast, you would hear it.
Yes. So welcome back. Listen, we have, we've been walking through Proverbs, and it's really been interesting as we've been doing this the last few months, a verse a day. And then we come to you on Fridays and we kind of share what we sort of unpacked as we were reading it. And it's been fun because Sherry has a podcast. I have a podcast. And we both do coaching. And it's so amazing to me then when I come back to pull out a proverb on whatever I'm teaching, I'm like, oh, Sherry and I talked about that. So, it's just this opportunity to talk through what this wisdom is. And so we are in chapter 11.
We are.
And 14 through 20.
Yep.
So,
yes, 14 through 20.
Yeah. So do you want to read?
Sure. I'll read. All right. 14 through 20. Where there is no counsel, the people fail. Mm-hmm. Does that say fail or fall? Hold on.
Fall. And mine says fall.
Please hold. Let me put on my old person glasses.
Stop it.
Fall. Did I say fail?
You said fail.
Okay, it's fall. See, this is what happens when you're 46. Now, in my defense,
that's
tiny.
Little. No, can't do that.
Okay, let me start over. I'm sorry, people. Where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. I want to circle back to that because I think there's some implications about that for business.
Yes.
Which I have found myself saying two different messages. So I think there's something there for us to dissect. He who is surety for a stranger will suffer, but one who hates being surety is secure. In other words, if you give loans out, you're going to suffer.
Don't do that.
Just don't do that. A gracious woman retains honor, but ruthless men retain riches. The merciful man does good for his own soul, but he who is cruel troubles his own flesh. Mm-hmm. The wicked man does deceptive work, but he who sows righteousness will have a sure reward. As righteousness leads to life, so he who pursues evil pursues it to his own death. Those who are of a perverse heart are an abomination to the Lord, but the blameless in their ways are his delight. Where do you want to go first?
Well, where I want to go, there is in my commentary. So this is my one commentary.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this last week. So I just want to like put the bookends on this, is that we've been really talking about this examination of the righteous and the wicked, showing that as the righteous, we are delivered from death. We have eternal life, but the wicked die. I mean, it just, we know that it is what it is. And this whole idea, and I think where I want to go is this very first verse that you were like, oh, I really want to unpack in 14, is that this wise counsel and the impact of that, not just as for individuals, but as communities, as cultures, as, families and all of that. It's pretty powerful because I think sometimes we think, well, it's just me, but God cares about everything that we do and that we care about. And therefore, even the smallest steps, it's like that whole idea, if a butterfly flaps its wings on the other side of the world, then there's a tsunami, it could cause a tsunami or whatever. I don't remember.
Did you ever see that movie with Ashton Kutcher?
No.
That's like one of like the obscure Ashton Kutcher movies. It's called The Butterfly Effect.
Oh, see, I was going to say The Butterfly Effect, the book. Is it based on that?
I don't remember, but it's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is we all have a part to play. Which side do we want to be on?
Okay.
So
yeah.
Go. 14.
Go. All right. Well, okay, go. Let's talk about this in context. Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So here's my question that I want us to answer as best we can off the cuff. So we're told back in Proverbs 3:5, do not to lean to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge me, and I will direct your paths. I being singular, right? We can look to the book of Job, and we can see multiple counselors who are giving bad advice.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a mixed message here to me. It's maybe not biblically conflicting, but if you look to Ecclesiastes, whatever, two stand, but a cord of three is hard to break.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are moments when we are called upon scripturally to be amongst believers, to be in communion with believers, to trust the wisdom of the wise. And there are moments when it's clear that it's me and God.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how do we know then? Like, how do we know if the voices that we're listening to are this multitude, our safety? How do we know that?
Right. So here's my perspective on that. I think the only way to know that is number one, to acknowledge that we are all human.
Yeah.
And therefore, everything has to be taken back to the Lord. Everything has to be considered in prayer. I think in the case of Job, and you raise a really good point there, like, hold on, is this conflicting? But in Job, like, they're giving him all of this advice, but God's like, no,
that's not right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it would be very wise, very sound advice that they were giving him. But yet God is over all of that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's that sort of those Job moments where we go, well, hold on a second. These people that I trust who are Christian, who are followers, who are believers, but hold on, Lord, what do you say?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also think this could be taken a step further, because if you look at the first part of that scripture, it says where there is no counsel.
Yeah.
So there's a clear juxtaposition of no counsel to a multitude of counselors.
Yes.
And I think of I was talking with somebody the other day about, somebody had suggested to them, maybe you should go talk to somebody, like somebody like, me. Thought coach former psychologist. And they said, well, I talk to God. And I think that's the attitude of a lot of believers.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we should talk to God. And God gave us other people who have counsel.
Yes.
Who have godly counsel on the earth, right? Other humans who can help us. Like that's, that's what medical doctors do. That's what,
Yes.
A car mechanic does.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I think that when I thought of that when I look at that word counsel, like counsel is when you're trying to solve a problem. So you don't just have none. And yes, you can talk to God, but God also provides mentors and spiritual influences in our lives that help us through that can help us have safety in whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I want to talk about this where you're going. Well, I'm not assuming where you're going, but I was having this conversation with somebody earlier. So Sherry and I were talking before we got on that one of our dogs is not doing well. And we don't know if she's going to, live through the end of September. Here's the thing. Mental health is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like there's maybe like 3 schools of thought on this. The first one is like, mental health isn't real. Okay, that's crap. The second one is I'm just going to turn to God.
In case you didn't know how Aaron felt.
Right. That's crap. In case, I'm just going to turn to God.
Right.
Right. And then the third one is like, everything causes me anxiety. I don't know how to cope. And the reason I bring that up is because I know of people.
There's a fourth one.
Oh, the fourth one. Go.
You can learn through the truth to have a thriving thought world.
Right.
Where you take care of your mental health based on godly principles.
Right.
Okay. That's
and
all
you
I had
can
to say.
you can seek out counsel.
Yes.
Right. And so I love what the reason I raised that is because as we prepare for whatever's going to happen with our dog, listen, dogs die. It's
la la la.
I know. But like, are we going to let this derail our life? Right. Or are we going to like find a way, like you said, through creating a thriving thought world based on biblical principles.
Yeah.
Which is what Sherry can help you do, by the way. Or are we going to get help?
Right.
Are we going to get help? And so going back to what you're saying here is, I do think this juxtaposition of like no counsel versus multitude of the right kind of counsel.
Yeah.
Is really interesting. And I think bringing it back to the point that Proverbs is, wisdom. It's like having the wisdom to understand that.
Yeah.
And having the wisdom to be able to set aside pride and say, I need counseling from a mental health perspective, but like, I need a second opinion, or
right.
I need to talk to somebody who's an expert in this area of business or whatever. God put those people in those places so that is their service to others. Right.
Well, and that also speaks to, goodness, there's probably so much in here from the past 10 chapters. I'm going to ask God to bring to mind some of those passages, but where there is no counsel, the people fall. How many times out of shame or fear of judgment do we seek no counsel?
Or pride.
And then we fall. Because we think that I'm not supposed to feel this way. I'm not supposed to think this way. I'm not supposed to, especially for Christians. I'm a Christian. I'm
That's right.
Right. Like, I'm not supposed to think that. And yes, that is pride. It's not adamant pride. Like,
right.
It's like, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. Pride. That's that type of pride. Right. And, So I think that goes back to, just this wisdom. Like maybe somebody that's watching this is dealing with something, and nobody around you knows.
Mm,
And maybe you've resorted to the no counsel,
mm.
but I'm pretty sure it's not helping.
Right.
Pretty sure it's not helping your situation. And so I encourage you to reach out to somebody you trust. In fact, I talked with a potential coaching client the other day, and I coach from the get-go. So I don't mince words or anything. And she said, well, I can't tell anybody this. And I said, you can. You choose not to.
Right.
That's okay. I can help you walk through that part.
Yes, absolutely.
But let's be honest, you
Right.
can. And so if that's you and you're like, I can't, you can tell, but you just have to, I think, with wisdom, seek God and say, God, show me the person. Who's the person that I can go to for this?
Right.
And God will show that to you.
That counsel.
Yeah.
Amen. Yes, that's good.
Yeah. That is good, because in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And when it comes to talking about this subject, as we're pursuing God's wisdom, I mean, we are part of that multitude because we're having these discussions about what's wise and what's not. So I guess the other thing I would add there is that the multitude doesn't have to be your friend.
No.
Or your coworker or your spouse or your pastor. It could be some person that you hear on a podcast.
Yes.
That's part of the multitude of counsel that connects with an issue that you're facing with and is reflected in God's wisdom.
Yes. Yes. So. Yes. That's so good.
That is good. That was encouraging to me.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, that's good. All right.
So going on. Okay. So I'm going to go. So I just wanted to pull out, really quickly in 15, where it says, surety, like don't co-sign, don't give people loans, I mean, and Dave Ramsey, of course, teaches that in Financial Peace University, but even throughout in other areas of the Bible, it says, don't co-sign, like you don't do that. But I want to skip ahead to 17. So in my New King James, it says, the merciful man does good for his own soul, but he who is cruel troubles his own flesh. So in my version, this is a Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible, and he has comments throughout. So I love that. And this is what he says. The Lord calls us to do what is good and right, not only because godly living reflects his holy character, but because it benefits and blesses us. Yeah. And I think sometimes that in some religions, this idea of being a good person or doing good works is about like the earning, right? And so it could be challenging to read this and be like, but I want to do good because it's what the Lord tells me to do. Yes, it is what the Lord tells you to do. And you know what? It also benefits us to be that way.
Right.
It benefits us to do good. It's good for our soul.
Yeah.
And living by his word and walking in the center of his will, treating others well, serving well, etc. I mean, that's really life at its best.
Yeah.
So let us not overlook that the Lord wants us to enjoy that life. It's not if you did good for you, pat on the back, you earned X. And if you didn't, no, that's not how he judges it at all.
It's part of life abundant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just wanted to reiterate that as well.
And if we, look at the product, the outcome of wisdom, applying God's wisdom, it's always equating to life and wealth and happiness and fulfillment. I mean, I can't cite specific scriptures right now, but we've read this over the past 10 chapters.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
that is so good.
Practicing wisdom always leads to something good for you.
Yes. Not just in safety, not just in security, but in all good things. Right. And I think that we never know, we're reading through wisdom because we want to apply it and we want to know more about it. And we want to share that with all of you who are, listening or watching. At the same time, it's it's not just about the safety and the security. It's about like you having that wisdom and walking in that wisdom has an impact on everyone around you. It's how you show up. It's how you carry yourself. It's your demeanor. It's how you reflect Christ's light. It's how we are ambassadors for the Lord. Mm-hmm. So when you think about it that way, and you're representing like the sovereign king, sort of like, I don't ever want to not be walking in wisdom, even though we know in our human condition that it will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that in 17, in this other version, it says, your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you. And I think a lot of times in our fleshly wisdom, you know, us giving people a piece of our minds is to hurt them. And so I think this wisdom says that it will hurt us.
Yeah.
Right. So when we think us doing something is going to pay somebody back or hurt them, it's actually hurting us.
Oh, absolutely. It's that whole idea is like, I don't know if it's unforgiveness. I think it's unforgiveness is like
drinking poison or something.
Yeah. And expecting it to hurt someone else, or I don't know what the thing is, but
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
That's what it is. And so it just shows you like how ridiculous man's wisdom is, because man's wisdom would say, well, I'm not going to forgive. How many times have you heard somebody say that's unforgivable?
Yep.
I've heard people say that a lot.
I just can't forgive that.
Nothing is unforgivable.
No.
Nothing. Except for whatever that mysterious great sin is.
Right. I mean,
I'm not going to get into that right now. I don't.
Well, it's interesting to me because there are people in my family who are grudge holders.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, it's fascinating because it's like, how is that hurting the other person? Like, you're still angry.
Right.
They have clearly moved on.
Right.
I don't really get
it. Right. And if they took time to think about it, they would understand that it's hurting them.
Right. But again, it's about the wisdom.
Yeah.
Being, you know, knowing that righteousness leads to life. Leads to life.
Well, verse 19 says, godly people find life and evil people find death. You get what you look for.
You get what you look for.
Every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can go out into the world today, and if you expect to see good people, whatever that means, you're going to meet good people. You're going to notice them. You're going to see them.
Right.
If you expect to see evil people, you're going to see the person who cuts you off. You're going to see the person who doesn't return their cart to the cart return. I know I'm loosely calling that evil, y'all, but you get the point. You're going to see all of the stuff, right?
Yes.
That irritates you because you're looking for it.
Right. And I want to tie that into one more thing that I've been really passionate about recently with some people that I know, which is like, how long do you want to live like that? Don't stand in the mire and the muck of victimness.
Yes.
Victimhood.
Yeah.
Looking around and all you see is how you've been wronged and you can't trust anyone and on and on and on. How does that feel? Oh, it feels terrible. Well, how long do you want to live like that?
Right. How long are you going to choose that?
Right. I want to say a Dr. Phil, like, how's that working for you?
How's that working for you?
So I was having this conversation with somebody the other day and they were going on and on about it. And I thought, you speak of life as if there is no hope. And my question is, number one, what good is not having hope? Like what good is not allowing yourself to have hope or to wish or to have dreams or, okay, so that idea didn't work out. And now you're beating yourself up because that idea was taking you down all these other roads. Well, if that happened, wow, then this could happen. And oh, that would be so cool. And then it didn't happen. And so now you're like, oh, of course. Okay. So what good is no hope? Secondly, how long do you want, like, how does it feel to live like that? Oh, it's awful. Then stop. It's like that Bob Newhart clip. Have you ever seen this?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I used that in like,
where he's like, stop it.
Yeah. One of my first like free speaking engagement things I did at a public library when I decided to stop being a clinical psychologist and start speaking for free. Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, and yeah, I included that in
Right.
my presentation because it's very true, but it's not that true. I mean, you can't just
No.
stop something. You have to
No,
stop
you
something
can't.
and do something
Do something.
else.
Right. But
Right.
but again, coming back to like is in my version, it says in 19, as righteousness leads to life, he who pursues evil pursues it to his own death.
Yeah.
And I'm not like saying, the tangible of death, but I'm just saying like that can't be like it can't feel good to live in that kind of a thought life,
Yeah.
but only you can decide how much longer
Sure.
you're willing to do that. And it's wanting to seek the wisdom and then walk in the wisdom, because it's one thing to seek it and it's another to walk it.
Well, I think also just, so that people understand, just neurologically speaking, when you have ingrained thought habits, your brain is going to resist at every turn to change them.
Absolutely.
So it's not easy.
No.
So that brings us full circle back to, you need to surround yourself with the multitude of counsel.
Yes.
Right. If you really want to change, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take being surrounded by a multitude of people, of counsel, wise counsel.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's good. So the other verse that I don't know, it was really beautiful. I found it beautiful this week when I read it, and I wanted to glance back to it. It was 16. And in the NLT says, a gracious woman gains respect. And I thought about that. And that day I was like, okay, Lord, how can I be gracious today? How can I be more gracious? And I think one of the things that he continues to show me is that it's not enough for me to be gracious in my words and in my deeds. I have to be gracious in my thought world. And so one of the things, right, like I can't say like, you buffoon, you're the worst driver ever in the history of drivers, in my mind, but not say that out loud and still say that I'm being gracious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm like, you're the worst person ever, like in my mind. So anyway, God's like working with me on that. Like, make sure that you're being, because it's not hard for me to be gracious. Like with people, I have a great deal of compassion. So it's not hard for me to be gracious at all.
Right.
But sometimes I have to get over that first like brain dump of human vomit. And then I get to the gracious part. But I don't speak that, but I think it. And so God is like, it's the same thing, Sherry. So I've been working on, when I have those thoughts that are not gracious come into my mind this week, I've been working on stopping them. That's and good. going, no, let's be gracious in our thinking. And that what's great is I may not be like, superhero at it yet, but I'm more aware that I'm not thinking graciously. I'm more aware of when I'm not thinking graciously.
Well, but that's the first step, is the awareness, which that's so good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Love it.
Love it. So yeah, I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to be gracious and I'm going to have respect. And I do have respect. I mean,
you do. Of course you do.
Except today I did a reel. I did a reel on negative comments.
I need to go watch it. I haven't seen your reel yet.
It's just me talking, right? But I did a reel on negative comments that, these are good things, people, like, right? And so then somebody commented, no, no one cares. And I just said, thank you for proving the point. Thank you. Thanks. So anyway,
go watch our reels on Instagram, you guys. Sometimes we're really funny. All right, everybody. So we'll be back next Friday. See, I wasn't going to sing and I just did. Dang it.
All the way to the end.
All the way to the end next Friday. So we're continuing in Proverbs 11 and we'll be 21 through 27.
Yep. 21 through 27.
So join us back here. We'll